Another day, another person who loves music because of the movie School of Rock. Let's rock today. So, today I wanted to run you through my band merch that I own because I love all of it. And I don't own something unless I love the artist dearly, and they have been with me for a good portion of time, generally. So, two of my favorite bands that I've talked about before are 21 Pilots and Wallows, and so they have their own videos because I have so much of both of their stuff. So if you're interested in 21 Pilots or Wallows and hearing me geek out about both of them at great length, check those videos out. So this is for all the other artists that I love. Obviously, this is still not comprehensive of all of the artists that I love, but these are some of my top artists because they loved them enough. I wanted to own something of theirs. I have a sticker for someone, even though I don't have a piece of clothing for him, so I'm actually going to start with that. This is my laptop. I love having stickers on my laptop, and it's the very shiny one in the middle. It says everything will be okay eventually. This is an EP from my very own Michigander. If you don't know Michigander, you should, because he represents my state wonderfully with the ideal Midwest emo vibe. Michigander put out his debut album last year after following him from his very first singles back in, I think it was 2017 or 2018, to now. It has been so cool to see his progress and all of the ways that he continues to just be himself. I think the love of School of Rock is something you can very much see in his life too. And I just enjoy that he's always been unapologetically himself in all of his humor and his essence. And I know it's really tough for smaller artists in general with both throughout COVID and then just the way the internet is so weird right now with everything being an ad and so many genuine things that people want to see are just not being seen. So anyway, Michiganers music is fantastic. It is pop rock, and he had a lot of good things to say on his debut album, so I would suggest that you check it out. Something I always loved about Michigander is how he speaks a lot about like wanderlust and just the desire to get away from what you've always known and experience something new. And I think especially throughout my 20s, that was something I very much craved and longed for. And while I didn't move far away like I thought leaving college I was going to do, what I've come to realize is it's all the smaller moments of ways that I need to remember that I don't have to feel trapped. Just taking road trips to see my long distance friends is one of my favorite things to do, and it reminds me that no matter how much is happening in my life, no matter how much feels suffocating at times, whether it's from anxiety or trauma triggers or anything else, I always have the ability to keep moving. I always have the ability to literally be bigger than the situations I've been through. And travel is just a really sweet reminder of that, and just a really fun way that I've connected with myself. And so Michigander reminds me just a lot of that process of just needing to travel, loving to travel, and just not wanting to be tied to one spot specifically, but always being flexible to be moving. And that's the reason I'm actually just about to move. As you can tell, things are getting a little more bare around my living space, which is sad because I really liked my 21 Pilots collage that is now not there. Look at like any of my other videos and you'll see it. And I showed it in depth in my 21 Pilots video, so go check that out. So then the clothing, it's all clothing, really. Hats and shirts today. So the first one I wore recently, so it is dirty and wrinkled, but I love to see it. It is, of course, the only band it can possibly be. The Beatles. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. My sister found this for me because she does a lot of clothing reselling. And Of course I wanted it. Of course I wanted it. I am still a single Pringle, and I love the Beatles. I know most of their discography because I grew up with Beatles rock band, just like Wallows did, actually. That's a big reason they all got into it too. So, okay, now we're gonna see if I can throw this into the hamper from here. It was really close. The Beatles, man. Um, I feel like everyone knows the Beatles. They're standard classic rock. They're like the epitome of classic rock. Just guitars, bass, drums. That's all you need. That's all you need to be successful. And in my world, that's still all you need. I'm a simple girl. I love a guitar riff. I love Olivia Rodrigo's new album. I love a guitar riff moment. It always makes a song for me. Like, I'm pretty sure there's not a single song with a guitar riff that I don't like. I mean, the White Album is classic, so I love the White Album. Um, I do enjoy Sgt. Pepper, but probably not all of the songs. um, now all of the album names are evading me, but I like the one that has Drive My Car on it. It's like one of their first ones. It's like very much like classic Beatles moments. Twist and Shout. Is it called Twist and Shout? Maybe. I can picture the cover, but I can't picture the name. So I'm a fake fan. But yeah, I loved playing Beatles Rock Band. You could play like the story version where you like follow their career through the different venues that they played at and the albums that were released, and that made me so happy. One of my fondest moments is my brother singing "Come Together" while me and my sister were playing the instruments, and he kept just yelling "Shoot me," and that was hilarious because he didn't actually know how the song went. Um, yeah, and of course, my mother was a huge fan of the Beatles and was a tween when they were huge, so she loved seeing me fall in love with the Beatles, and that is a huge music piece that we continue to bond over as I've gotten older. So the next artist, I have two very brightly colored pieces, a shirt and a hat for, and this is one of, if not the artist on this list. Another one of them rivals this. But this band I've spent the majority of my life with, thanks to having older siblings, and is still one of my most trusty bands to date. John Foreman is one of my favorite lyricists of all time. He's also just seems like one of the most wonderful people who's always just full of wisdom and the desire to minister to other artists and just be a cheerleader to so many people. So of course I love Switchfoot and grew up with Switchfoot. So this is their nice little beanie. I'm trying to think what era this was from. I don't know. Like I got it in 2019, I believe. So I want to say that was like Native Tongue album time. I actually own, which you can also see if you watch my CD collection video, which is the second video I ever made. Um, I have so many Switchfoot and Relient K CDs. They're like one and the same to me, also because they've been friends forever. And a lot of them were my sister's, some of them are mine, and I've just like compiled them all because no one else keeps the physical albums, but I love having a physical album collection. My favorite Switchfoot albums, Nothing Is Sound, has always been fantastic. Right? Is that the album? The Shadow Praise the Sunshine. That song was huge for me in high school. I thought it was so smart. I thought the lyrics were so good. And, songs like Daisy and Stars are just classic. Um, their rock, obviously, Dare You to Move was like their hit album back in the early 2000s when everyone was watching A Walk to Remember. And it's probably the main reason a lot of people know Switchfoot is because their music was on A Walk to Remember. And I feel like that was when it was the most heavily played on the radio. with Dare to Move and Learning to Breathe. I really, really love Where the Light Shines Through. That was huge for me in college. I distinctly associate that album with being a barista for a couple summers during college and just really trying to like evangelize to some of my coworkers. And as an adult, I've really loved Native Tongue, and I also really like um, Interrobang. I'm still like listening to that one more, like their newer albums. I haven't heard as many times, but I really thought Interrobang was really timely for 2020 and 2021. But yeah, of the newer albums, I've probably listened to Native Tongue the most, and Joy Invincible is absolutely fantastic. The Hardest Art is such a relevant song that I feel like I go back to again and again, and there's so many Switchfoot songs that I just cannot get enough of. The other shirt I have, by the way, is this blue shirt. I honestly don't wear it too much. It's a much more like fitted style, which is very different from my other like basic tees. I kind of love that though because too often there's only ever basic tees, and I like when people switch it up a little bit. But very bright, vibrant blue. Love this pretty tree on it. Um, and yeah, it has their classic name and little arrow switchfoot piece. This was from my favorite concert I went to, which was in 2016. I saw Reliant K open for Switchfoot, and that was the best concert ever. And Reliant K played Deathbed, and it was incredible. And that was right after Where the Light Shines Through came out, so I got to hear Float, and they had like bubbles during Float at the end, and it was just so fun. I've never been to a concert that had bubbles before, and I got to go with my sister, and it was just a lot of fun. Yeah, Switchfoot is like my life song. When I first started college, I also have a distinct memory of watching John Foreman's TED Talk like a dozen times. I just like watch it over and over for comfort, for nostalgia in a very new and scary season, and just for inspiration to continue to figure out whatever it is I was trying to do with my life, which I still don't know, but what helps is continuing to listen to Switchfoot and continuing to listen to all of these artists that encourage me. The last note about Switchfoot is I am going to their tour this fall with my sister and my mom, who I got my mom into Switchfoot, especially the past like 10 years, and she's never seen them live, but we've always wanted to see them together, so I'm very excited for her to finally see them live because we both love John Foreman a lot. I'm excited for the new album. I think it's coming out very, very soon. I forget exactly when, the next like month or two. So looking forward to that. The next artist is probably the least known out of everyone's merch I own, and that is Bad Bad Hats. So of course they had a Bad Bad hat for sale, and I had to get it because I love wordplay and puns. I love this hat a lot. I really like the color. It's dark enough blue that can kind of act as a neutral, so I really love wearing it. I love wearing it actually with a blue and white Wallows um, baseball tee I have, like quarter length sleeve. Um, these pair really well together. But yeah, I found Bad Bad Hats in college. I'm pretty sure I saw them open. They definitely opened for Michigander, and I got to photograph both of them at that show in 2019 also. That was a lot of fun. So I definitely knew them by then because they opened for Michigander, and I tend to look into a lot of openers of bands that I love and then fall in love with those bands because they opened for artists I love. But I feel like I knew them in 2018 too, so I forget exactly when I found Bad Bad Hats, but I'm pretty sure they opened for a different band I saw that played at my college. And the lead singer, like when they would pause to talk, she would be super awkward. And I loved that. I love awkward people. So I immediately was like, I know that I'm going to love this band because they're indie rock. Guitar solos, are we surprised? No, there's very much a theme in the kind of music that I like. But also that she was just super awkward is so relatable, and I tend to not just love artists, but I tend to love them even more because of what they show me as people in their personalities. I don't think there's an artist I love that I don't also support their personalities. I've mainly listened to their EP that has Cruella on it. Hi, honey. And then like their single Detroit Basketball because I'm biased. Really love that song. So yeah, they're a lot of fun. I feel like they make some good like pump up songs for like sports warm ups or just like they have that ambiance in their music of like the opening scene in like an early 2000s film. So I really like the like feel good summery vibes that their music has. The next artist is definitely the most popular, and I love her so much. She's by far my favorite pop woman in the industry. I think everyone has their pop woman in the industry, and I feel like it can say a lot about you. So if anyone wants to guess who they think my pop woman is, I'm gonna give you a minute. Um, if you just look at my hair, I think you could figure it out. That's a lie. It's kind of two people based on my hair. The one I don't talk about as much, but I still also love, and I also love both of them because of being small. The first one's Hayley Williams because who doesn't love Hayley Williams? But the one that I actually own merch for and know every single song of is Billie Eilish. So I have her Happier Than Ever beanie, and this is my favorite. It has like a spot on it I need to clean. But this goes with everything because it's a neutral, which I'm so grateful for. And then a simple black long sleeve for Happier Than Ever also. Um, when this album came out, it was easily my new favorite. And then it just says Billie Eilish on the back. Some pretty typography. I like how it's very simple, and I of course like how it's extra huge, despite the size. I love how she's all about comfort. It makes me very happy. And I just saw her concert movie from Hit Me Hard and Soft this past spring and loved it so much because that was my new favorite album. It still is. I think it is the most Billie album she's ever made. And it was like her humor and her sentimentalism and her melancholy. And I love her so much because I relate so hard to all of those characteristics. And I think the album encompassed it really well. I like how her thesis was like how much she identifies as the color blue. I think that makes a lot of sense from what she's shown us musically over the years. So it was cool to see like her really come into that full like self-awareness and show that through her music. It was really satisfying to see, and I'm really excited to see what she's going to continue to make because she is just so introspective. And despite how large she is, I am always so fascinated by watching her in interviews because she's just not even trying to be anything other than herself. And it's so evident that she doesn't feel the need to act any different. The next one is the other artist I've loved the longest and is by far the most nostalgic. And the artist that I really found on my own, as the first artist I really found on my own to get me into the world of music outside of like music that my family already loved as a familial unit and, you know, the basic childhood stuff like Disney music. And that is the Jonas Brothers. So I have this lovely bucket hat that is so fun and so floppy. And then my sister found me this thrifting as well, and which was great because I bought this at the concert I went to, so I never saw them growing up when I was obsessed with them when I was 10 years old. And I finally got to go with my sister-in-law to see them in 2023, and I have never cried so hard at a concert. But as soon as they walked on the stage, I was sobbing. And as soon as they played When You Look Me in the Eyes, which ironically as a kid, I tried to pretend that I hated that song, but that was the song at the concert that had me sobbing. And it was just entirely for my 10-year-old self, and I knew it, and I was like, this is the reason I love music to begin with. Like, this is the reason why I've always wanted to work in music and now do work in music. And they're the reason I love rock music alongside School of Rock. And really just the way I like discovered a huge piece of who I am, which is just being enveloped in music. I owe everything to the Jonas Brothers, genuinely. And SOS was the song that hooked me. And so I didn't get a shirt at the concert, but it was like Taylor Swift's albums tour, or Eras tour, rather, where they played from all of their albums, which I was so excited about because I'm so nostalgic for their self-titled album. And that was definitely the era I was singing the loudest for. I forgot how much I loved that album, and saying it again makes me want to pull that album out again. And so my sister found me the shirt from that year's tour. So this is their album that I was the most nostalgic for. Australia. Oh my gosh, so many songs on the album. Australia, Hold On, Good Night and Goodbye. Every single song. Every single song. And then I also was super into A Little Bit Longer. This was my middle school album. Um, yeah, I got to hear Nick sing A Little Bit Longer. World War Three is from this one. This was the other album that I was super into. I was super into when they did Jonas on Disney, and then they came out with Lines, Vines, and Trying Times, and World War Three. This album is so jazzy and funky, and it is so underrated. So please play it if you have. This one aged the best. This album's nostalgic, but the production is poor. Like, you can tell it's a product of its time, you know what I mean? This one's like iconic, like fan favorite with Burning Up and everything. Shelf is my favorite song on that one. But this one is, in my opinion, the most underrated. And there are just no words. This one is the most musically impressive, and you all just need to listen to this one, okay? And then Happiness Begins was so special because I had just finished college, and it was like immediately back into my childhood with this release of the album. The timing was so beautiful, and I loved it so much. And then I listened to this a little bit, but I really wasn't super into it. So their newer music, not so much, but this was super nostalgic and special, the timing it came out. So these four are like my four albums. So yeah, here we are. I went to August 24th. 5 albums one night. Seriously, you have to listen to Lines, Vines, and Trying Times. And then going right into high school with my last hat shirt combo. I was a One Direction girl, but who did I love the most? Who do you think I loved the most? It can only be Niall Horan. Here's the shirt that I got in 2018 at his concert with my best friend from high school. I love this. It's very Bruce Springsteen, which is what I loved about his first album, Flicker. I love that album. And then his second album was right when COVID happened. That one I listened to a little bit, but really didn't have much attachment to. And then I loved his third album. And then his newest one that just came out. I liked a few of the songs a lot, but I honestly haven't listened to it much. I don't like it as much as the third album, to be totally honest. I think his third album is still my favorite. I seem to really love people's third albums. Billie Eilish, Harry Styles, Louis Tomlinson, Niall. All of their third albums are so good. Flicker, the title track, is also definitely one of my favorites. I really love that he always has a little bit of Irish jig in at least one of his songs on every album. That makes me really happy because I love, love, love Irish music. And then I got this at his concert in 2023, I believe. No, it's 2024. It literally says on there. So this was the show. which was his third album, which is my favorite. And this is a little more of a trucker hat, which I don't normally wear, but honestly, I really like the coloring. It can go with a lot of stuff. And yeah, I really like the dark blue with the white and the yellow. I think it looks really nice. Niall has always just been happy-go-lucky, and I love him a lot. That's all I have to say about that. And then who else? Who else? I've worn this in at least one video before, but I love Dodie. This is a simple little Dodie. This is like an more of a beige off-white. And then on the back, this is from her album Build a Problem. So she's standing in an empty pool, and then this had her North America tour on it, which I don't think I went to. I went to one of her concerts. Maybe it was this one actually. You know what? It was. It was 2022. And it was February 16th. And it was genuinely one of the best concerts I've ever been to because they had a very unique, her and her band had a very unique ambiance where it didn't even feel like a concert so much as just like watching someone do a hobby that just gives them the most excitement ever. Like it didn't just feel like you were singing along, but you're like genuinely watching someone just be so happy doing something. You're like, wow, that was really inspiring because she's just so happy doing the thing that she does. And I really liked because she has a lot of psychology heavy music. Like there's trauma, disassociation, depression, anxiety. She encapsulates so much in her music, but she does it so gently, not just because her voice is soft, but she just handles everything so so gently, with the gentleness that it needs. Build a Problem, I did love. I loved all of her music videos for that as well. I loved Cool Girl. I watched that video like 50 times. I loved that video so much. I got into her on YouTube first and then into her music. And these artists just like mean so much to me. It's like, how do I say this in a short amount of time? But Dodie was always someone who kind of verbalized how I was feeling about men over the years at like just the right time. Like she always met me exactly where I was at, and it was like uncanny. Hot Mess is another one of those songs that hit me right where I needed it to and was exactly how I was feeling at the time. And so, yeah, I always look forward to what she's going to say next. Her newest album was not my favorite. It was just a lot more lower energy at a time when I was wanting more higher energy. So, that body of work more so was a mismatch with where I was at versus her, which just is what it is. But I really liked her Lonely Bones EP a lot as well. Next, so this was a concert I went to at the venue I now work at. This was before I worked at it. I went and saw the band Camino, and who I was really excited for was who opened for them, which was Bad Sons. Bad Sons, my friend Deb got me into, and they are indie rock. Oh, I didn't mention Dodie is a lot more like singer-songwriter, so it could just be like piano or guitar, but then also like she can bring a lot of strings in, and she's very like symphonic music heavy, because she plays clarinet, so she has a lot of cool classical pieces in her music, that makes her stand out from a lot of other artists consistently. Um, but yeah, Bad Sons is just a ton of feel good vibes that I always want in the warmer months. And whenever I just need like some serotonin, they're like classic happy go lucky music that I go for. Um, Cardiac Arrest is an iconic song that everyone loves. When the World Was Mine is definitely my favorite album of theirs. And Summer Lightning is so good. There's so many songs on that album that are so good. And Baby Blue Shades is like my classic indie rock sound with the guitar that I love the most with the angsty lyrics. So I love a good hopeful bridge in the midst of an angsty song, and that is a good example of that. So yeah, These guys in Valley are some of my favorite happy-go-lucky vibes. Another artist I've been with since 2010, Grayson Chance. Grayson Chance. This is him in a cigarette. I went and saw him in 2021. This was the last concert I went to before COVID happened. And yeah, I actually found him through a magazine I grew up with. And then he was on Ellen right around that time, and really blew up as like a little child protege on the piano with these insane vocals. His album Palladium is really good. I think a lot of people fell out of listening to his music. They just saw him as like a child protege, and so a lot of people haven't followed his adulthood. Um, Palladium is so cool. I love a concept album. Not everyone does concept albums, and it had everything to do with Greek mythology, which is a really cool musical angle I don't see a lot of artists taking. And I just thought it was really cool because it's something I'm not as familiar with, but I'm intrigued by. And so it felt like both a musical emotive journey on the album that's still like personal, but then it also brings in some like intellectualism and education. So I really liked that. And it felt very like academic in a way that I was really in the mood for. And I think I mentioned that album before as like a fall recommendation, but it definitely has like academia vibes. This shirt has seen better days, but it is cute. And this is Half Alive, who's I found back when they were first making music in 2018, because a lot of people thought Josh sounded like Tyler Joseph. This is the back. Obviously, I love yellow, so this was an easy choice for a shirt. And it's like a nice gray color. Um, Half Alive has really eclectic production, which I love a lot, and they do a lot with like dance numbers. So you might have seen at least one of their videos on YouTube and didn't realize it, because they do a lot with choreography. I think I really liked their first album, and I also really liked their second album. I think their second album is my favorite. I forget what it's called, to be honest. I feel like I haven't listened to them in a while. But they also have very pensive lyrics on a wide slew of topics, whether about mental stuff and just like growing in self-awareness and introspection and working through relationships because of that, and even like challenging culture, which I always love to do in general. And I feel like in general that's why I love rock music, is it was built upon like challenging people and challenging culture. So Half Alive does that a lot as well, and they're a little more like techno element heavy and bubbly in that way than some of the other rock music can be a little more like heavy on the angsty side. And so I like that they have deeper topics but are a little more bubbly about it. My Midwest emo queen, as opposed to Michigander as the king, is Abby Holiday, who actually knows one of my best friends. And I didn't realize until I went and saw her this past spring, my friend, and they had a reunion. And I was like, wait, technically, Abby knew me in a personal setting before I knew Abby's music through our mutual friend, which is crazy. The world is small. But this one, she sold me back when I saw Michigander, I want to say 2022-ish time period, back when everyone was touring again after COVID. She opened for Michigander, and so that's how I found Abby's music, even though I'd technically already met her and didn't realize it. And this is from an EP. This is a song called Ohio Laundry Room, so that's what this sleeve is. And then there's um, different pictures, butterflies, laundry machines, that go with different songs on the EP. And yeah, this has some of the lyrics. Nothing's gonna stop you, even if it takes you. This was a darker EP, and that it just had a lot to do with like family grief and family wounds and working through the pain of your origin story. I really love Abby's music, that it's very family heavy, because I think those are a lot of wounds that aren't necessarily talked about enough in music compared to relationships or even friendships. So I really like that Abby gives those wounds the time to let people sit with them and heal them. I think that's really important, and music is so important in that way because it makes facing hardship a little more digestible when it's to a rhythm. So she's very like poppy in that there's a lot of like synth moments, but she manages, despite the electro heavy elements, to make it very fresh in the way that she uses it throughout the other instrumentation. Um, it doesn't just sound like every other song using a synth, but it's very progressive sounding in the way that she utilizes it. I can't really describe it other than like listen to her album Crack a Smile, Come On, Stay a While. That's absolutely my favorite. Um, it goes through so much on family in such a healing, beautiful way, and Butterfly song is by far my favorite, and Spiral is so accurate to what a spiral feels like. So that song is super validating if anyone else is used to going through any sort of spiral. For me, I really feel it with anxiety and panic. So check her out. She has a lot of healing to give the listener, and I don't think anyone could walk away from her music not being more healed than before they listened to it. And then, last but not least, I did see the band Camino when they came to my venue once I started working at it this past year. And so, this is my newest merch piece, and that is the Never Always tour. And frankly, I just love Evergreen, and that's why I bought this shirt. But also, I've really been enjoying their music lately. I'm not like a diehard fan as I am with a lot of the other artists in knowing every single one of their songs, but past couple years, everything they've been releasing, I've been really into, and I think I'm biased because my music director at my church, this is his favorite band, and um, we have very similar music tastes, so I think he's just continued to make me love them more and more. They do have a lot of, I would say, redundant sounding songs. Like they very much feel like someone that's kind of one note a lot of times, but yet it's always like when you are in the mood for just like an angsty pop rock song, they are good at it. Like that is their thing that they consistently do. But yeah, that's kind of just like it's kind of always the same thing. It's always like an angsty romance song with some type of like modern lingo and fairly basic hook and melody, but I love it. You know what I mean? Like it's not complicated at all. It's not even lyrically super invigorating, but I I don't expect it to be, so I like it for what it is, if that makes sense. So that was a lot of yapping, and I definitely yapped more than I expected to. So I'm gonna go. I would love to know what your favorite pieces of merch are and why. I think I'm always just the most drawn to the colors that I love the most, which are like yellow or green pieces, but then also I really like neutral pieces in general to match with a lot of things. I don't know if there's like a lot of people out there who don't wear their merch, but I don't understand why you wouldn't wear your merch. I feel like that's the point. I'm also a very practical person, so um, I buy clothing to wear it personally. So, yeah. Thank you for sitting here with me. I hope I could talk about at least one artist that you also love geeking out about. And so, if there's anyone you want to continue talking about in the comments, please do. And I would love to continue the conversations. And I hope you're doing well. Continue to take care of yourself. I know that I need some extra gentleness and care these days. And I will talk with you soon. Bye, friends.